What a moment for Halifax Rugby League.
Austin is through and Warrington dominating. Great try from the Robins. Huddersfield Giants take the points home. Invested in the poor lad. That is one sensational try.
Look out with a drop goal. Leeds gather round in jubilation.
He's hit the post. It's Wellesby. Wellesby might have got the try. St Helens are champions once again.
Good evening, welcome to the last tackle, our weekly trip to the Rugby League buffet. Delighted to be joined by two legends of the game, Paul Sculthorpe, Adrian Morley. Thank you for joining us, and it's been a busy week in the Betfred Super League, but we're going to start off with some sad news from the community game, and Moz, if you could just give us a little bit more.
Yes, unfortunately, the Echoes Club, which is now the Salford Roosters, has lost their chairperson, Alfreda Kinden. She's been involved with the club for 40 years, and her passing is going to leave a massive hole with that club. And she was a mother figure to, I'm not being dramatic here, she was a mother figure to lots of hundreds of kids, myself included. My two boys are involved at the club now, and it's just so sad that they're not going to, get to experience Alfreda's hospitality and care in nature. So yes, the club are very sad, and unfortunately next Tuesday is the funeral. So we'll all be there and give her a good send off.
Scully, we've spent so much time talking about the top end of the game. It's easy to forget sometimes the community is the bedrock of this sport. Every club has an Alfreda. She would have been an important part of so many people's lives.
They do. I mean, every one of us who's played professional rugby, Moz has said it. Alfreda looked after Moz when he was a kid at Eccles. And everybody in the professional game has been through that. And it's people like Alfreda that get you to where, to the top, and it's their care and their, like Moz said, the mother figure of the club that help these kids and make these kids want to keep going back. And it's just so sad. I was at the Salford and Lee game. Obviously, had a minute's silence for Alfreda, and just to hear people talking about her and obviously seeing stuff on social media, what she meant to people, and so far a reach as well, and within the professional game.
Yeah, sad news, and our thoughts are with all of Alfreda's friends and family and everyone at the Salford City Roosters. Big news today in the Betfred Super League. We now know who will be at the helm for Cass in 2022. It's Lee Radford. What are your thoughts on this appointment, Scully?
Yeah, I'm made up for Radders. He's a great lad. Obviously did a good job, a great job at Hull FC. I always thought sometimes at Hull FC, he's lived and breathed that club, as a player, and sometimes you can be too close, so it's great to see Radders, back in rugby league. He went over doing a bit in rugby union over in America, and great to see, another young English coach back in the game. And he's a great club at Cass. They're a club that I think they've changed over the last decade. They're a club now that expect success, and there's a lot of pressure on him. He's obviously following a very successful coach in Darryl Powell, but I'm sure Radders can bring a lot.
Yeah, Moz, it's big shoes to fill, isn't it? Darryl Powell obviously taking them to a Challenge Cup final, Betfred Super League Grand Final, of course, and that League Leaders Shield in 2017. Do you think there'll be a bit of pressure for him to just take them to that next step, to do that consistently now?
Yeah, there will be pressure, but knowing Radders and every coach needs an element of pressure to bring out the best in them and the best in the players. So I agree with Scully. I'm delighted that Radders is back in our sport. I thought the way he got sacked from Hull was absolutely disgusting, really. I rang him during the week and give him my thoughts on that. So great to see him back, and he's a no-nonsense coach and just tells it how it is, which is really refreshing, really. So, and the fact that it's only the closest club to Hull, apart from being Hull KR, is will suit Radders. But yeah, pleased he's back, and I think he'll do really well for the club.
And Scully, Darryl Powell's big legacy perhaps will be bringing back that classy Cass moniker and reputation. Can Lee do the same? Will he be able to pick up and have them, maintain them as the big entertainers?
Yeah, I mean, Radders will have his own philosophies on how he coaches and what he expects of players. But it's very much like anybody who's ever gone to St Helens. It's that they're used to playing that brand of rugby, and Cass are the same. They are an entertaining club, and and their fans will want to see that. You know, and I think in today's game, you know, them clubs that do that are the successful ones anyway.
So Lee Radford will be at Cass next year. Darryl Powell will be at Warrington next year. The man currently in that seat on this Rugby League merry-go-round is, of course, Steve Price. He had a big call at the weekend for their game against Catalans. He decided to leave one of their marquee signings, Blake Austin, out of the side. It's a risk that paid off, but here is Steve Price's thoughts.
Fitness is going to play a part, isn't it? Yeah, and the question is my theory right? Are Warrington fit to side when they're not skillful enough side?
Maloney picks it up, and that is an absolute stroll in.
Defensive line speed. Oh,
here is Clark this time. He is all the way through. He's got Carey in support, and Darryl Clark does what Darryl Clark does best. Run from Mulhern. Last one. They're going to run it. They're going to run it with. Here is Mamo. Manages to get the ball back to Widdop. Now Widdop does put the little kick over, and that is taken superbly.
Cassiano's trampled over Widdop, and now they've got a chance out wide.
Tompkins.
Oh, it's
intercepted, and Mamo could go the length here. Jake Mamo, who's tried, salvaged the point in the last second, and Hull is going to score a 90-yard interception right at the start of this second half, which is proving the big difference between the sides. Ratchford again with the kick. Tap back into the arms of Widdop now. Widdop's got some space. Widdop could go on his own. Widdop cuts inside.
Yeah, I was really pleased with, you know, all Matty and Steph and Gaz. You know, I thought our kicking game, you know, throughout the whole game was really, really positive. We turned them over in good spots, and you know, which you know, we could invest in other areas. So yeah, it was a really positive display, you know, by those three. Yeah, it's just more about Osto. With, you know, he's a, you know, important part of our team. But at the end of the day, it's all about performance, and I felt the best way going forward was, you know, Steph over on that right edge this week. So it worked out okay.
Yeah, big call, Moz, leaving Blake Austin outside. It seemed to pay off. Good performance from Warrington in the end, wasn't it?
It was fantastic, and you know, we didn't know whether Blake was injured or just dropped, and by the sounds of Steve Price there, he was left out because of his performance the week before. So great win for Warrington, real confidence boost. You know, notoriously hard to go over to Catalans and get the win, so that will be a big boost to everyone. That so undefeated in 4 games now, Warrington. So I did put the mocker on him at the start of the year. I picked him to win it, and they went out with a loss, but they look like they're back on track now.
Scully, everyone will talk about, on face value, Blake Austin not being in that side. Perhaps the biggest thing, though, is that obviously that pulled Stephen Ratchford into the halves and put Matty Ashton into fullback, and that's a big change, isn't it, in terms of the style of play, because they're very different fullbacks.
Yeah, they are, and I think a lot of people, obviously, Matty Ashton's, you know, has been sensational since he come through at Warrington, you know, over the last 18 months, and you know, now he's got his opportunity, and I think adding Steph in there in the halfback role just gives him a bit more stability, a bit more structure. You know, we all know Blake Austin is very, very cavalier, and sometimes him and Gareth Widdop are very much the same, and I think that's where Warrington have struggled. So I think Steph has added that bit of stability, and Matty Ashton at the back, you know, we all know he's got pace to burn, he's a great attacking threat, and that's a big win for Warrington, because the first 3 weeks of the year they've been far from convincing. But to go to Catalan and beat an informed Catalan side who themselves had not lost a game was a massive win.
Moz, Jake Mamo, another strong performance. We're hearing that Greg Inglis is finally in the fold. That would be a difficult conversation with Jake Mamo, wouldn't it, to tell him that he's not in the side? It
will, you know, on that performance. However, they didn't bring Greg Inglis over just to, you know, be a squad player, so they want to get him running around on that park as soon as possible. And you know, if you look at Greg Inglis, the athlete he once was, if he can get anywhere near that level, we're all in for a huge treat in Super League. So I think the Wolves will be desperate to get him out as soon as possible. It will be a tough conversation, but that's what coaches are paid the money for, aren't they?
Well, that's one unbeaten record gone in the Betfred Super League. There's 3 more remaining. Let's have a look at the rest of the fixtures from this week's games. Two unbeaten sides opened the round, and it was Castleford who scored first. Daryl Olfert's crossing in the corner. Wigan hit back 8 minutes later, Zach Hardacre on the spot to benefit from Smith's brilliant offload.
Smith ankle tap, gets the ball out, and it is a try for Zach Hardacre.
Bevan French then showed that playing on the wing is no problem for him, scoring his first try of the season in his first appearance. Cass were back on terms in the second half, with Olferts crossing for his second.
Now there's an overlap surely for Olferts to go over and score in the corner.
But a moment of magic from Wigan would decide the game. Hastings' perfect kick, putting French over in the corner.
French has got the speed and French has got the try.
It was a tough assignment for winless Huddersfield taking on Saints, and the Giants found themselves behind early, courtesy of Theo Fage. The champions were made to wait half an hour for their second, when Mark Percival scored. The ball was put down on almost the same blade of grass when McQueen gave Huddersfield hope in the second half. But Lomax went over from short range to secure the win for St Helens.
And he's over the line, is Lomax.
Two more sides looking for their first win of the season came head-to-head on Friday, and it was the Lee Centurions who started better, Matty Russell opening the scoring against Salford. The Red Devils hit back on the 20-minute mark, with Greenwood going over for their first try. But the Centurions had the lead back at the break. Ian Thornley this time finding space on the left edge.
Down the ankles, he took it well. Thornley into the line.
The Red Devils were much improved after the break, with Kevin Brown stepping his way over to score.
Kevin Brown steps through.
And then Ken Seo's coast-to-coast interception proved to be the sucker punch, as Salford went on to win by a comfortable scoreline.
They're herring after him. All the way on his own. It's going to be a length of the field score.
There's no shortage of irony in Hull, as Ryan Hall scored his 200th career try against the club where he scored the lion's share. And it was another ex-Leeds man who scored Rovers' second, Matt Parcell, forcing his way over from short range. By the time Lynette had their third, KR were rampant, and it wasn't until the half-hour mark that Leeds got on the board through Brad Dwyer.
Dwyer quickly on a dummy half, reaches for the line.
The comeback never looked on, however, and Lynette's second wrapped up back-to-back wins for the Robins. Hull FC kept their unbeaten record intact for another week against Wakefield, with Savelio opening the scoring. Wakefield are currently without Tom Johnston, but there's no shortage of speed on the wing, with Lee Kershaw showing fantastic pace to finish off this interception.
McNamara is chasing him, they're not going to catch him, and this is the Wakefield opportunity, the try that Wakefield so desperately needed.
FC were then down to 12 men, but that didn't seem to hinder them, with Adam Swift extending the lead.
Climb for it, he's not going to get it, Swift will.
Wakefield then scored from a kick of their own to set up an exciting finish, but Carlos Tumavavi went over in the corner to secure the result for FC.
Tumavavi ghosts in for the try that restores Hull FC's lead, and Brett Hodgson maybe a sigh of relief behind that mask.
Yeah, Wigan keeping that 100% record intact against Castleford. And Scully, they've still not blown a team away, have they, Wigan? But impressive, pragmatic, they're getting there, aren't they?
Yeah, and resilient, I'd say, as well. I think that's one of the things with Wigan is that resilience to grind wins out when you're not at your best. But I think we've seen this week that man returned, Bevan French. He carried on from where he left off, didn't he, last year? He's such a strike player. He's pace to burn, and one thing you can't give somebody is genuine blistering pace, and that's what he got. And you see the kick from from Hastings, for Bevan, and he's a threat all over the field.
When they're under Sean Wayne, Moz, we always used to talk about them having that steel and ability to win when it mattered and grind wins out. They seem to be finding a little bit of that again.
Yeah, they do, but I want to talk about Castleford. I don't think they'll be too disheartened, Daryl Powell, to go to Wigan and to compete very well, and they went within a score of getting the bit of an upset at the moment. So, yeah, I thought Castleford done very well, but you're right, Wigan, they're just going about the business, grinding the wins out, not playing particularly flash, as you said, but at the end of the day, it's all about getting the 2 points, and they're going about the business quite nicely. So there is a bit of a steal about them at the minute. You're right.
How do you stop St Helens this season, Moz?
It's a tough one. But again, I want to talk about Huddersfield. Ian Watson said before the game, this is about performance, it's not about result. And I think his body language after the game, he was really, really pleased at Huddersfield's performance. Not many teams are going to go to St Helens or play St Helens and get the win. And they competed well, and his body language after the game, he was quite enthused at what he saw. And I think as they're improving, it's a new team, new coach, he sees this as a bit of a stepping stone. So I think in the coming weeks we'll see Huddersfield getting the win and also challenging for these big boys. But the flip side is they didn't get the win, and Saints go marching on. So they've got Lee on Friday as well, which the way Lee are going, you've got to say that's potentially another Saints win. So it's I think they're head and shoulders above everyone else at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's ominous signs from Saints early on, isn't it? I think the thing that impresses me, Scully, every time I watch them play is just the balance. They just seem to have it in every department. And all of that seems to spring at the moment from Farge and Lomax in the halves.
Yeah, I think the halves are playing really well. We all know about Johnny Lomax, and he got the rewards on Friday evening, with the man of the match. But I think Theo is a massive part of that. He controls things. He leads the team around. But yeah, I think they're strong in all departments. I think you look at everybody's team in Super League. I think there's weak links or not as experienced players in certain positions. I think Saints look strong, throughout. But I think they fell into a bit of a trap. They got into an arm wrestle, in that first half and played well, competing. But I think on Huddersfield, they wanted to test Saints, up front, and it didn't really work for them. But we see the second half, Huddersfield, when they started throwing the ball about, Caesar, Cogger, Lee Gaskell from fullback, and they had success. They scored 2 tries, and I think maybe that's a sign for Huddersfield is, use what you've got, and they've certainly got a lot of flair.
And a great result for Hull KR against Leeds, and a great moment for Ryan Moz, his 200th career try. Those kind of milestones, they mean a lot, don't they? Yeah,
they do. He's had a fantastic career, still going. Danny Maguire will be looking over his shoulder for the number 1 try scorer, but to do it against his old club is a nice little accolade to do that. But I wasn't surprised at this result, if I'm being honest. I thought they had a real confidence boosting win the week before against Huddersfield, and it's amazing what a win does to a team. And people were picking Leeds because traditionally they have been stronger in the past, but tough place to go, Hull KR, and get the result. And I did pick them to get the win, so not a huge surprise in my opinion.
Scotty, I logged in to watch Salford versus Lee at the weekend, and it was your voice on the co-coms. You had a good look at that game. What did you make of Salford finally getting the first win?
Yeah, obviously, it'd be nice for Richard Marshall to get that 0 off the board and get the win. It wasn't a convincing performance, and I thought it was a poor game by both sides. I think the difference in the teams was Kevin Brown was a big part of that. I think he orchestrated Salford, well. You could see Kev that his experience and his knowledge of the game was the difference. But I think both coaches will certainly be working on the skill levels this week, because it was a poor game.
At Salford, Moz, they're not always the quickest starters in the league. They won't be too worried at this point. Obviously pleased to get on the board at the weekend, but I find it difficult to quantify what a successful year is for them after the last few years.
Yeah, it is a tough one. The fact Ian Watson's moved on, a lot of the squad has moved on, as it does most years, so I can't really. It's a hard judgment at the moment. It'll take a while for the team to learn how the coach coaches and the coach vice versa. But they have reached unprecedented heights the last couple of years, making these major finals. So if they do that again, fantastic. But I think Richard Marshall wants to put his own stamp on the team, and I think the way the club have started has not been great. Let's be honest. That was a confidence boosting win. It's very early days to talk about relegation battles at the minute, but I think it was really important for them to win that game on Friday. Now hopefully it'll be the springboard really, and give them a bit of confidence, and they'll kickstart and go on a few runs. But I think it will be hard at the moment for them to reach Wembley or reach Old Trafford the way they're performing at the moment.
Scully, we said on last week's show that Wakefield in previous seasons would have been a potential banana skin for Hull FC. Hull FC showed some real mettle. It was 14-all with 10 minutes or so to go. They came out to win. Is that a sign of how far they've come under Brett Hodgson?
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously the pressure. I think Hull FC, going on the back of the first 3 performances in Super League this year. I think we're clear favourites going into that game. But all credit to Wakefield as well. I think they're steadily improving. I know Chris Chester was pleased with certainly with the performance, and the improvement on previous weeks. And there's a lot of good young players in Wakefield, and I expect them to get stronger as the weeks go on.
They've been playing well in patches. I watched St Helens and Wakefield the week before. It was 0-0 at half time. You could argue Saints had a bit of an off day, but you can only play against what's in front of you. But each and every game they've played well for 40 minutes or patches. They just need to do it for 80 minutes. But again, after the game, you could see Chris Chester. He was quite excited, pleased with the performance. Certainly not pleased with the defeat, but you could see they're improving week in. And again, I don't think a win's too far away for Wakefield.
They are one of 3 teams at the bottom of the league, still looking for wins, and quickly. I know it's 4 games in, and we probably shouldn't be having this conversation, but let's have it. Who should be worried at the bottom?
Well, going off what I saw the other day is Lee. I think Salford, play anybody else in Super League, they don't win. I think the standard was that poor, and I think it was only because it was Lee. And I know listening to John Duffy after the game, he was massively disappointed, and not only with the performance, but I think the attitude of the way they completely capitulated. I was looking from the gantry and just seeing the body language of the Lee players. Unfortunately, they've not got a lot of bodies to call back on. So, what changes can there be made other than from them players that were out there?
And it was always going to be difficult for Lee. They didn't get it was a late shout bringing them into Super League. They've on a bit less funding, obviously, and players that were probably expecting to be playing in the Championship. But I have to admit, Moz, I was expecting a little bit more from them.
Yes, very, very tough proposition what they have been asked to do, but yeah, again, I thought they'd do a bit better. The first game against Wigan, they threw everything at Wigan and very unlucky not to get the win there. However, you'd want them to be competing better than they are doing week in, week out, and I think they've got a couple of signings from Australia, and the sooner them boys get over, the better. But very, very tough, because when you're trying to recruit, all the best players have gone in Australia and in the UK. So tough ask. But we want the most competitive, evenly contested Super League that we can possibly have. And Lee are just not adding to that at the moment.
I think to give to Lee as well. Obviously, they've got a number of players missing. As did Salford going into the game. So hopefully that will gradually improve. And as you say, they didn't get a lot of time to prepare for Super League, but the way they started that game, the first 3 or 4 sets, proved that they can do that. They scored a great try on that left edge, and then another one later on in the game through Ian Thornley, and it proves that it can be done. What it is just consistency to be able to do it, set after set.
And confidence as well. I mean, they're going to be low on confidence, aren't they, having the start of the season that they've had. It doesn't get much easier for them, but do you think at this point it'll be round 5 of the weekend? Do you think Christian Wolf will be tempted to play a few kids, rest a few of his more senior players?
I think he probably will be. I think it's a game that you probably can do that. And it'd be wise to do that. There's players. We're not having reserve grade now. There is players on the edges, the likes of Lewis Dodd, who can get more game time. In these kind of games, and I'm sure Christian will use it for that. On the flip side of Lee, I think John Duffy, I hope he's positive with his team and shows the good things that they did within the game, and certainly the start of the game, because it could be a long old year otherwise.
Well, round 5 kicks off on Thursday night. Wigan versus Hull FC, 2 unbeaten teams. Moz, this should be a good game.
Yeah, it's a mouth-watering clash. So it's at Wigan, but yeah, I think. Wigan, even though they've not been blowing teams away, as Scully said, they've been going about their business and they've looked a lot more professional. Hull, they got the draw against Warrington, although apparently Warrington were quite fortunate. And I thought, even though they won against Wakefield, Wakefield gave him probably more of a game than they should have. So I'd go with Wigan on this one, but one of the unbeaten records has got to go, and we like watching these games and seeing how it entails.
On Friday, Leeds St Helens, we've spoken about that one. Wakefield, Catalans. Wakefield will be confident even after that defeat. It's at home, of course, for them. Scully, I'm tempted to tip Wakefield to win this one.
Yeah, it's always a tough place to go, isn't it, Bellevue? And obviously Catalan now coming off a loss. They were 3-0 before the weekend. Got turned over by Warrington. It's how they respond now to that defeat, and it's not going to be easy at Wakefield. You know, they're growing in confidence, you know, week after week, and you know, back at their home stadium as well, which is renowned, isn't it? It's a tough place to go.
Also on Friday, Salford versus Cass. Moz, they play each other 2 weeks in a row now. They've got the cup game the week after this. Will the temptation for Salford already to be have one eye on that cup game?
Well, I think the way Salford have started, they've got more of a chance of doing well in the cup than, you know, going up the league and making the playoffs, grand final, etc. So I'm not saying it's an easy thing to do, but in the Challenge Cup you've just got to win 3 games and then hey ho, you're at Wembley. So I don't know what the coach is thinking, but you know, they having made the final last year, I think they'd love to go down there again. So I think they could potentially rest a few players and get ready for the cup game.
And then Saturday, Warrington versus Hull KR. We're finally, we think, going to get a glimpse of Greg Inglis in the Super League. All the headlines are going to be about that, but based on Hull KR's performance against Leeds, this is going to be a really tough game for Warrington.
Yeah, firstly, obviously, very much looking forward to see Greg Inglis and what he's about now. We all know his history, and you know, one of the best players ever to grace our game. And you know, I hope we see that at Warrington with his performances. I know hearing so good things about, you know, his involvement and his aura around the Warrington camp and the influence he's had on other players, and certainly the younger players. Just be interesting to see how he performs on the field now after having 2 years out. But I think he's up against one of the exciting teams in Super League. I just think Hull KR have probably not got that pressure on them. There's no expectancy of them, but I think they're a team that throw the ball about, that seem like they enjoy themselves when they play. You know, the likes of Jordan Abdul, Mikey Lewis, and Hooker as well. Jez Litton, I think I think they're an exciting team to watch.
I think Jez Litton's been outstanding so far this season.
He has. He's an outstanding young player, and as you say, probably when there's not that pressure of you on a club where, you know, success is expected. He's gone out and just played his game, and he seems to be enjoying himself.
And then Sunday, Huddersfield versus Leeds. Moz, these two teams will probably be looking at the other one going, this is the perfect time to play them.
Yeah, I think so. Ian Watson I mentioned was enthused at what he saw against the Saints. So I think he'll be quietly confident going up against Leeds. But again, Leeds will be wanting to bounce back from a bit of a shock defeat for them guys. So nice Yorkshire derby. We like these ones as well. But to be honest, I can't really pick out. I think Huddersfield will get off the mark this week. And again, you know, Leeds having been one of the strongest, if not the best team in Super League over 20 odd years, they really are struggling at the moment. We thought this was a rebuilding phase and they're going in the right direction, but it's not looking that way at the moment. So they said, you know, last week we've got a few players back, it'll steady the ship, but they looked as bad last week than they have done all season. So bit worrying times for the Leeds Rhinos, but we'll see how it pans out.
Yeah, well, moving on, there's been some very interesting column inches in the last couple of days. Some fantastic quotes from Zach Hardacre about his position amongst that England training squad and who is the best fullback in Super League at the moment. He said, others are backing themselves with a fullback shirt, but I back myself 100%. Look at the stats, I'm the best fullback. It's getting to me a bit now. There's no one near me on the stats. It's getting to that point where there's not a fullback near me and stats don't lie. Moz.
Well, I like confident players, but you know, there's a fine line between a bit of confidence and a bit of arrogance. But you know, if that's what motivates him to say these things, and that'll obviously you know, give him the opportunity to perform that way. So you know, good luck to Zach. But he is playing fantastically well. But you know, I wouldn't have gone off and said those remarks. But again, that's just me.
Scully, these quotes are obviously going to get a reaction from a few people, and everyone will have their opinion on it. But what I would say is, one, it's great to see Zach enjoying his rugby league again, and his head seems to be focused on his rugby league. And also, there is that old thing, isn't there, that to be the best, you have to believe you're the best. Yeah,
of course you do. Of course you do. I don't mind it. I don't mind, players, having that confidence in themselves. Like you said, there is a fine line between confidence and, it's a tough one, really. Between confidence and arrogance, and Zach, he's probably put a bit of pressure on himself with his performance, but he's performing. I think the biggest worry for Zach of that fullback role is he going to play fullback now? now Bevan French is back, or is he going to get moved back to the centre? For me, he's a completely different player in the centre. You know, Zach, I think he's a world-class fullback, and I'd love to see him continuing to play there. Obviously, now that's opened up, you know, competition with Sam Tompkins, who, you know, I said last week is one of, if not the best player in Super League at the moment.
And the thing that jumped out at me when I read this as well is that we talk about selling the game, Moz, and marketing the game, and sometimes I almost think it's just ingrained into us as rugby league people to be a bit too modest. Look at boxing and the face-offs and all the stuff that gets said in the build-up to those fights. That's how they promote them. It's not a bad thing, is it, to have some, you know, put the fishing rod out a little bit every now and then?
No, it's not a bad thing. You know, boxers, you know, that's all part of the razzmatazz and the build-up, and you know, there was absolute hatred, and then after the game they give each other a cuddle, so it's all a little tongue-in-cheek, and you know, this might be a bit tongue-in-cheek from Zach, but again, if it gives him the tools to motivate himself, fair play, and if he actually believes that, again, fair play, and you know, it's obviously Scully's doing something right, because you know, as Scully said, his performances have been absolutely fantastic.
I think it's a real positive thing, and as you say, you know, it shows that Zach is enjoying his rugby. He's bringing the best out of him as a player. You know, he's obviously changed his life around. You know, he's in a great relationship. He's got a young child now, so his focus has shifted, and obviously, you know, he knows what he's got within the game, and he's making the best of that.
Wigan obviously flying at the moment, as we've spoken about, with Zach at fullback. There's going to be plenty of talk, of course, about whether they go with Hardacre or French in that number 1 shirt. I'd just like to go through the teams now. We've played 4 rounds, we've had a good look at them all. So let's go through. I want you to pick one thing that they've done well and one area of an improvement for me, and we'll start with Wigan, Moz.
Getting the wins for a start. You know, I don't think they've been playing in some games particularly well, but they have been winning, and you know, our game's all about results. And the first game in particular, they got out of jail against Lee. But again, they've been very professional, very consistent, and you know, they're not joint top of the table for nothing. So I think the consistency's been you know, top notch, and I think we're only going to see improvements from them as well.
Where would you put them then? A-, B+, that kind of area?
Yeah, I'd say B+, yeah.
Scully, I'll let you do Saints.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the positives is what they're capable of. I think what they've shown in a lot of the games so far. The downside, probably just getting suckered into teams at times on the way that they play. I think of that second half against Huddersfield. Just a couple of glitches defensively, but I think certainly confident that they're the best team out there.
Hull FC, Moz.
I think, well, the stats are they've had the best start to a Super League competition since 2009, so fantastic start for Brett Hodgson and Hull FC. So it's great that another team are in the mix, you know, even though it's very early days yet, but I think they'll be delighted with the start. And yeah, they've been playing some attractive rugby league as well, so pleased for them guys. Positives and negatives, I'm not too sure. I just think I think the start has been great. It's important, you know, the teams like that get a good start. So I think they've done great so far. Yeah.
Defeat the weekend, but ultimately Castle will be happy, won't they, Scully?
Yeah, I think Castle will be happy with the way they've started. You know, up until this week, you know, they were 3 from 3. You know, they've got some talented players in that squad, and you know, I spoke about him last week. Paul McShane, I think is their talisman. You know, everything comes off him. It's just, you know, being consistent week in, week out.
Moz, a real mixed bag from Warrington so far, isn't it?
Yes, they you know, they didn't start the season great. However, they did get beat off Hull, who now have won 4 from 4. So you could say, was that a fluke, or was it, you know, Hull being good and without Warrington being particularly bad? But they're undefeated in 3 games with 2 wins and a draw. But that win last week really was, in my opinion, a massive confidence boost to go over there to the south of France and get the win against a team who were playing particularly well. So I think you'll see Warrington really kick on now, and they could have an added boost of Mr. Certain Inglis in the ranks as well. So I think Warrington, you'll see them kick on now. So not a great start, but onwards and upwards.
Scully, I'm not going to get carried away and say that Hull are going to make the playoffs, but they are box office, aren't they, this year?
Yeah, they are. They're enjoyable to watch. You know, we've said that, but I just think they'll take a lot of confidence, certainly with them 3. You know, Litton, Lewis and Abdul. I just think the creative players, they look like they're enjoying themselves, and everybody enjoys playing off and around them. So I think that's the positive Hull KR, and they've not got that pressure on them. I don't think anybody expected anything of Hull KR this year. So they're out there and they're enjoying it, and it proved it against one of the teams that demand success in Leeds.
And Moz, Leeds have been pretty heavily hit with injuries, but they'll be concerned, won't they?
Yeah, they will be concerned, and coaches don't like to blame results on injuries, but they did have a huge injury list. But that injury list is slowly subsiding, and even when they get the big boys back, having had the losses, confidence could be an issue and a factor. So I think even with the teams they've had out with the injuries, I think should have been performing better than they have been. It was a pretty tough defeat to take last week against Hull KR, but they need to bounce back. But if they don't do it quickly, it's time's ticking on really. And if you look at the players they are missing, some absolutely quality players, don't get me wrong, but could it be? Could the season pass them by even at this early stage? So we'll have to see how they go with the injured boys back, but they'll be extremely disappointed.
Scully, Salford, a lot of players turned over, a new coach, the mitigating circumstances, but they'll want to see the wheels starting to turn a bit more over the next few weeks.
Yeah, they will, and like we mentioned earlier in the show, I think the thing is with Salford is what we've had from Salford in the last couple of years. The 2 cup finals, and now the expectancy on them. There has been a big turnaround in players and obviously on coaching staff, but there's got to be significant improvements week after week, and hopefully they'll get a few players back again, not with the biggest squad, but significantly build on this win at weekend. It is a win. It was far from a good performance, but something to build on.
Similar circumstances at Huddersfield, isn't it, Moz? New coach, lots of new players. They're just trying to find their feet at the moment. Yeah,
they are, and we mentioned before Ian Watson. He was pleased with the performance, not the result, but the performance. So I think it's a process he's going through. We don't expect him to be world beaters the first game, second game, but if they keep improving, which he hopes they're going to, I'm sure we'll see them racking up a few wins. But it's too talented a squad, and in my opinion, too good a coach for them just to be where they are in the Super League table. I think they're going to start creeping up very, very soon.
Scully, wait for to take confidence, of course, from the weekend, as we've said. What do you make of them so far?
Yeah, I think they've steadily improved, haven't they? I think they'll take a lot of confidence out of that performance against Hull FC, who are fancied as one of the favourites for success this year. And I think just gradually, building on performances and looking back at what the things they did well, the things they can improve, and I'm sure Chris Chester's doing that. Is when the coach is speaking positively after a game on what he saw, it's obviously gone to plan for the things that he's worked on in the week.
Every Wakefield game I've watched, Joe Westerman's been absolutely outstanding. So I think it's important to keep Joe fit, keep him on the park, and they have had some good performances without getting the win. So consistently, if they do it, I'm sure they will get the win soon.
Oh, we touched on Lee, of course, Moz. How do they turn it around?
Yeah, it's very tough because, as you say, whoever you play week on week, it don't get any easier really. So I think they just need to, as Scully said, concentrate on the things they did well, because they are a talented bunch of lads. Concentrate on the things they did well. Try and improve week on week, but just to be a little bit more consistent. But it is tough proposition what they've been asked to do. But they're in it now. They've got to perform. So yeah, very tough. But there's no substitute for hard work. They need to get to training and just work hard, and hopefully it'll come.
I think that's the challenge for Lee. Obviously, a lot of them are prepared for rugby in the Championship, and coming into Super League, playing faster games. You cannot afford to make the errors that they made. You cannot spend all game defending, otherwise it blows your legs off and it tells on your attack, and that's exactly what they got. So what they've got to recognise is do the little things well, and complete sets with the ball to compete.
Well, of course, Lee trying to avoid that trapdoor down to the Championship. The Championship has been outstanding so far this season. The quality in that division just seems to be going up and up. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from this week's round of the Betfred Chapter.
Semet will collect. Oh, there's space here. This is big trouble. Jared Semet. That's a Jared Semet special. Oh wow. Semet, an intercept. Oldham have gone to go left. A big chase coming. Callum Green's done well to chase down Semet there. He didn't give up on it, but Semet very hard to stop from 40 metres out.
On Hooley with the kick and the try. Picked up brilliantly, Hooley's kick, and Johnny Campbell in the corner, and Batley are on the board. Loaded up on the left-hand side. Craven. Good quick, and the intercept. Now can Batley go the distance? Campbell tearing up in support. He's got to give him the ball. He won't need him. He's going on his own. He's Dale Morton. Down the hill. And to the right of the post.
Washbrook pops it right. Baldwinson plays it off. Marsh, lovely ball. Back on the inside from Kerman. And Marsh runs to the sticks. It's another try. This fella just runs into spaces. It's Baldwinson following up. Turns it back on the inside to Marsh. Marsh again putting the hammer down and going over by the side of the posts.
Wilkinson that time, here's Roden, stabs it through, it's going to be a chance, and I think Whitehaven have scored here. It was a speculative kick from that man Roden again.
Who was he going to hit? Who was Brown going to hit with that ball? There was nobody there wanting the ball, and eventually he just ran out.
Oh, Kopchak's onto that one, and I'm sure he's got it down. That's a big score.
Down this near side. You can hear the Halifax players yelling at each other to organise the line. White pops it through, and the first score of the game for Junior Babai. Towards the French side, Policier. Casting towards the line, he's powering over the line. Has he got himself over? I think he scored. And Toulouse do hit back, straight off the back of the penalty.
On it, they've really leaned this way. They fancy taking on the area where Anthony Thackeray's defending, and it's working for them. They're getting yards out of the back end of the field. They're marching Sheffield downfield.
Sheffield Eagles in a decent position. Once again, acting halfback, trying to boss things with a kick through. Oh, Farrell got close. It looks like there could be a touchdown out there from James Glover.
Well, we're talking about that defensive stop there from Pickersgill. We can see straight out of dummy half. Oh, he's evaded Liam Finn. Liam Finn will not be happy with that defensive effort. That then put the pressure on Martin. And as we see, Foggy Johnston, well, he's left absolute carnage behind him because we've got Dewsbury players crashing into each other. And Joe Brown, he just had too much toe as Sykes and Martin, a valiant chase.
Yeah, great lead up there from Eben Skirls. Really impressive since come off the bench. And obviously, Aaron Murphy got on the outside of the Dewsbury centre.
Yeah, another brilliant round of action in the Betfred Championship, and it continues this weekend. Oldham are at home to Halifax, Sheffield Eagles take on London Broncos, and on Sunday we've got Newcastle versus Batley, Whitehaven versus the Bradford Bulls, Swinton go to Widnes, and Dewsbury take on York. And unfortunately, because of COVID restrictions, we won't get to see Toulouse versus Featherstone, which would have been a top of the table clash. But when we do get that game, it's going to be an absolute mouthwaterer. Toulouse look like the team at the moment, don't they? That'll be pushing for that Super League spot.
Yeah, certainly they're an exciting team to watch, aren't they? They're proper French the way they play. They love to throw the ball about and express themselves. So yeah, I think they'd be an exciting addition to Super League.
Yeah, Moz, it's fantastic, isn't it, having the second division as it is back? We missed it last season, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, and I think it's probably going to be a bit more, the way Saints are going at the minute, this will probably be a bit more evenly contested than the Super League, but Toulouse look very, very good, and it'd be great, as Scully said, to have another French team in there. You could have the Catalan derby then over in France, but I think it's great, if we get another, the spectators will get another chance to have a trip away, enjoy the sun and the French wine, but there's a long way to go yet.
Well, gents, thank you both for joining us. A fantastic round at the weekend. There's more to come, of course. Games coming thick and fast now. We've got the Betfred Super League Championship. The Women's Super League returns as well. And in a couple of weeks' time, we see the return of League One. The action so far has been absolutely fantastic this season. It was brilliant at the weekend. And we'll leave you with the contenders for Try of the Week.
Hello and welcome to the Our League Try of the Week. I'm Dave Woods. Let's have a look at this week's contenders. So our first try this week comes from a big win for York against Swinton. Matty Marsh scored 4 tries in this game, and here's one of them. And they were all eye-catching. This is the best. Try number 2 comes from Bradford's big win against Dewsbury, and David Boggin Johnston is very much the architect of this try. What a wonderful mazy run, stepping and weaving and getting defenders grasping at thin air, and just when it looks like he's run out of options, look at the support from Joe Brown. Head back, shoulders back, and over he goes with a long striding run to finish. Try 3 comes from Super League, Wigan against Castleford. Zach Hardacre's in wonderful form, but he owes a lot here to Harry Smith for creating the opportunity. Great vision from Smith to loop it backwards, and Hardacre's over again. Here's a game with tons of points. Halifax against Toulouse. And this is one of the pick of the tries from that game as well. James Woodburn Hall going in to score here at the end of some wonderful handling by Halifax. All to no avail in the end because they lost. But there's a try to remember. Witness against Batley next. And this is a great finish from Owen Buckley in at the corner. Great stuff. And finally, a name to remember if we've got the pronunciation right. Whitehaven against Featherstone, and Aaron Purewal, who's on debut for Whitehaven, the former Scottish Rugby Union Youth International, with speed to burn as he goes over for a rare moment of glory for Whitehaven. Get voting for this week's Try of the Week.
What a moment for Halifax Rugby League.
Austin is through and Warrington dominating.